We are joined in studio by Carla Canales. This vibrant young woman is an opera singer by night and a social justice advocate by day. She joins us today to talk about music, diversity, and using art for social justice. Carla, it's good to see you again. Welcome to Feel Like You Belong.
Thank you so much for having me, Ellen. I appreciate being here.
So your family has its own particular immigration story. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm actually the oldest of the siblings, and my mother is Mexican. My father's Bulgarian. I was born in Michigan and have had the chance really to spend a lot of time back and forth between the States and Mexico, where I have dual citizenship, and all of my mom's family is there, my cousins and so forth, and have had the chance as an adult to go back to Bulgaria and visit my family there as well.
Okay. So how many languages do you speak? What do you speak when you're not speaking English?
Well, I speak 5 languages fluently and have dabbled in a few others.
Okay. So very, very good for globetrotting then.
For singing primarily, but thanks.
Of course. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Sure. So talk about the experience of growing up in fairly white Anglo-Midland Michigan. When was the first time you had a sense of difference?
Well, to be honest with you, Alan, I was born in Midland and lived there until I guess it was just the beginning of third grade. So I remember those years as being idyllic. I didn't really feel different at all. I think the community was very kind to me there, and I was young. I don't remember exactly how old, but when I was in third grade, we actually went to Mexico for that full year. And by the time I was in fourth grade, we ended up in the Ann Arbor Ypsilanti area, and then I was in Ypsilanti public schools really fifth grade on. And I would say it certainly was by the fifth grade, sixth grade that I was more aware of my background, if nothing else, because actually English was my third language, and Spanish really being my fluent language, my mother tongue. So especially after spending a year in Mexico in public schools there, I had a very hard time integrating back into a country and school where English was the primary language.
Okay. So you are now an accomplished opera singer. How did all this get started?
Well, I think for me, music was a place where there were no borders. There was no cultural identity to attach myself to. Certainly, I was navigating issues of cultural confusion from a young age, but when I sang, none of that mattered. And as I grew older and sort of got deeper into the singing, I realized that it was really the beautiful marriage of my two great passions, language and music, which is what sets singing apart. So it was without question that I wanted to pursue my university studies as a singer and really as a communicator more than anything, because I see singing ultimately as being a tool for communication.
Sure. So people often stereotype stage life as glamorous. Do you want to debunk that for us?
Well, actually, I would say I'm the luckiest girl in the world to get to do what I do. So it's not an easy life, that's for sure. But I do feel that, the joy of singing for audiences around the world is unlike anything else that I could imagine being better. So for me, it really is quite glamorous. But it's a hard life. I spend about anywhere from 150 to 200 days on the road. Certainly for the last 10 years or so. And sometimes in countries where, well, most often in countries where English is not the native language. Most recently, I'd say the last 7 or 8 years, I've spent a lot of time in China, which has been quite surprising to me because as a classical singer, I never really thought that my craft would be particularly valued in that culture, but in fact, it's highly valued. And I would say that many more opportunities will present themselves for other classical musicians there. So, it certainly takes a lot of stamina and endurance and a will to persevere to do this career. And I just feel incredibly lucky that I've had the chance to do it for as long as I have.
Sure. And really, being in the public eye gives you the possibility to step out and create special projects like the Canales Project. Can you talk a little bit about both the inspiration for that and the mission?
Sure. I thank you for asking because this is really very dear to my heart. Just for me, it was really a reference back to many of the questions that I was asking as a young person, having to do with where do I belong? And, I had these two cultures to learn about and a new one, that of being an American, to navigate. And it certainly was confusing for me for a very long time. This feeling of neither being here nor there, and yet somehow affiliated to both or all three in my case. So when I had some experience as a professional singer, about 10 years in, I got a call completely unexpectedly from a wonderful organization based in Michigan called the Sphinx Organization. And much to my surprise, I was awarded their Medal of Excellence that year. This was 2014, and I was the first singer to receive this award. So for me, that was an opportunity to ask myself, how could I use my voice, both literally and figuratively, to advocate for the things I believe in and to try to create positive social impact using music as a tool for social change. Of course, the question then becomes how. And I spent about a year asking that question and other questions, such as, how can I provide something that is of service to communities that might not have access to the opera and so forth. And many people helped me along that journey. I was able to become involved as an advocate with organizations such as Americans for the Arts, the TEDx organizations, Aspen Institute, Turnaround Arts, etc. So it was really from that experience that I decided to start my own organization with a mission specifically of giving voice to issues of identity and culture through music and through conversation. And that's what we aim to do. We're now in our second and a half year, almost to the third year mark. And that has been really the most rewarding activity that I've had a chance to be a part of. So I'm very, very thankful.
And why is it called the Canales Project?
Well, actually, that's a good question. My grandmother's name is Canales, her last name, and she has been an ongoing inspiration to me. She's turning 96 next month and has always inspired me very much just through her approach to life, curiosity, her kindness, and her own artistry. I think, she was the mother to 8 amazing kids, my mom included, obviously, but she didn't have the chance to pursue her own vision and desire to be an artist. And so on some level, I wanted to honor her and that spark that I hope she passed along to me by naming my organization after her and also incorporating her name as my last name.
So is she proud of her granddaughter?
I hope so. I strive for that every morning when I get up.
Fantastic. Can you tell us about a few of the projects that you've undertaken?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, what's been very exciting is to create this platform, not only for myself as an artist, but actually collaboratively, so that I could invite other artists who are interested in this idea of being arts advocates or using art as a tool for social change. And I would say the biggest project that we've done that we're continuing this season is a project called Hear Her Song. And it's a very special project in that the mission is to celebrate and thank remarkable women from around the world through the creation of new songs. Again, referencing back to my grandmother, I think she was quite extraordinary as a woman who not only was a mother, but also worked. And so many women around the world just carry tremendous responsibility and I think often go unthanked or unrecognized. In our case, what we really wanted to do was partner with leading advocacy organizations for women's rights and women's empowerment. And to date, we've partnered with Vital Voices, which was founded by Hillary Clinton, partnered with the Women Like Us Foundation based in Los Angeles, and most recently with the United Nations Decade of Women organization. And we identify women that we want to thank through song in those partnerships. Then our next step is to ask them to just write a very brief statement, along the power of choice and the role that that's played in their lives. Much inspired by the This I Believe essays from NPR, if you're familiar with those. Um, and we use that as the basis then for our lyricist, our poet, and our songwriters to create songs specifically for these women to help them amplify and carry forth their messages. The project to date has honored 40 women and has involved and commissioned fully professionally 40 female songwriters, so totaling 80 people total. And it's led by music director Kurt Crowley, who is just an extraordinary force, currently music directing Hamilton on Broadway. And we have the privilege of working with really remarkable artists from pop, Broadway, classical, R&B, gospel, all genres, and also through other partnerships, such as the Her Village Foundation in China, Mercy Beyond Borders, which is primarily doing work in Africa, the University of Wolverhampton, a new partner with which we're co-commissioning 10 songs. They're based in the UK, and Berklee College of Music as well. So it's just been really amazing to see how so many people can come together for a positive cause where the aim is very much to thank these women. It timed out so that the Me Too movement coincided with this, which I'm very pleased to see that there's more attention being drawn to this particular issue. But in the end, our goal is to create the songs and record them so that we can give them back to women, such as one of our honorees is Malala, to be able to give Malala a song that she can then use through her organization and her work to carry forth her words and her beliefs and her dreams with the power of music. So that's really our end goal.
That's fantastic. So what's the response when you contact women either that you want to honor or performers and lyricists say, hey, come play with us? What's been the response?
Oh, it's been overwhelmingly positive. I'm really touched by that as well. I think the most moving moments for me in this project have come when the honorees on their own dime have flown to our performances and heard their songs for the first time and met their composers for the first time. And I think many of them didn't quite imagine that from their words, this beautiful piece of art would be created for them and to thank them. And we've seen many, many tears in those moments, and it's extremely rewarding for all of the hard work. So that's really the good part. That's
fantastic. So if people want to learn more about your project, where should they go to look?
It'd be wonderful if they check us out at thecanalesproject.com. And there you'll be able to find a number of videos. We have links to all of our projects, but especially focused on the Hear Her Song project that's right on our homepage. And certainly if anybody also channels my website, carlacanales.com, you'll also be able to find all of that there as well.
That's fantastic. Take us out with this last thought. For young viewers, especially young women watching who have passions in the arts, what are your recommendations for them?
Well, certainly, first and foremost, keep going, keep listening, keep making, keep creating, keep thinking. The beauty of the arts is not only the value that it brings to our everyday lives, but I think it's really the opportunity to analyze and explore the human condition. It's the place where there are no borders, and many people say that music is the universal language. I would argue it's not. Emotion is our universal. We all feel. We all have that capacity to feel. But it's through the arts that we can explore that in a safe way and hopefully better understand ourselves, our lives, and others.
That's fantastic. It's been a real joy talking with you today, and I want to thank you for coming on the show.
It's really a privilege. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's just incredibly important, and hope in some small way that the work that we're doing and the work that so many people are doing in their communities will be making a difference in people's lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla.
Thank you, Alan.
And thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on TV, stay tuned for our following segments on language and culture. If you're watching Feel Like You Belong on the internet, we hope you will share your feedback with us via our website and YouTube channel. And be sure to catch our many other stories about the inspiring immigrants and their children who help to make these United States a better place. For example, Nate thinks the studio is too dark for our TV